Okay, my topic is about the ego, and I like this topic a lot because I've been actually reading a lot about it. No, funny thing that when this topic came up, I just finished reading a book about Kabbalah, and in fact, in Kabbalah, the ego is pinpointed as the enemy. Kumbaga, they even go as far as saying that it's the Satan in your life, your ego, the enemy inside yourself. Your ego tells you that you're more important than you really are, and it tells you that you're not as important as you really are. So it's what will make you stop achieving. At the same time, it's what will keep you down and keep you from being your best. In my experience, since at a young age, I was always put into positions of leadership, no? Even at a very young age. I remember being chairman of the National Youth Commission at 25 years old. And that's like head of a government agency. Talagang lalaki, may chance na lumaki talaga ulo mo. But what I noticed was that people respond to leaders who aren't really full of themselves. You know, people have the mistaken notion that to succeed, you have to have a big ego. But actually, it's really more of an intense self-awareness. It's very different. Being self-aware means you know your strengths, you know your weaknesses, you know your motivations, you know what wakes you up in the morning, you know your purpose. That's self-awareness. Ego is basically you're doing everything for yourself, diba? And not for other people. And sometimes that line can be blurred, but if you're a person who's very self-aware, at the same time very purposeful, you'll really find your way outside of the ego. Now, going back, I remember going to China, and China is a very hierarchical society, no? And when we went there, I went as minister, kasi chairman ng National Youth Commission here is equivalent to minister for youth in other countries. So I was minister, no? And they couldn't understand that I would carry my own bags at the airport. And yung kasama ko, my commissioner who was ranked below me was a lady. And here sa Pilipinas kasi, we carry the bags of the ladies. And they couldn't understand that. How can you be carrying the bag of your subordinate? Parang ganyan. In fact, when we had the exchange program in China, it was funny. I wanted to stay with the delegates in the bus kasi masaya, di ba? If it's an exchange program, masaya when you're all together. But they wanted to put me in a special car. Parang ganyan. Na mag-isa lang ako. And they couldn't get it until finally I had to explain to them that in the Philippines, the way we do things, it's not about position. It's not about hierarchy all the time. It's about getting the job done. It's about following the goals of the company or your organization. And in our case, before sa National Youth Commission and now sa Microventures, we try to have a flat organization as possible, as much as possible. There are still rules and there are still, kumbaga, decision points that have to be done. But at the end of the day, everyone is just another person trying to achieve the goal of the group. And that, I guess, is the #1 enemy of the ego. Kasi the ego says that you do everything for yourself. But if your organization is one in following its purpose or following its goals, and everyone believes that it's something bigger than themselves, then the organization will just move quicker, it will move smoother, and people will just be more aligned all the time. And you won't waste your time ironing out mga away or ironing out differences because everyone's aligned towards the goal of the group or the goal of the organization. And your ego will stop that. Kasi it's a choice between the purpose of the group and the purpose of the organization or your own pagtataas ng sarili mong bangko or your own self. And some leaders think that they can get away with it, that they can actually, parang they can act like it's really for everyone, but then deep inside it's really for themselves. So they think that they can get away with it. But the truth is, people know it, and you can smell it, and you can feel it. If somebody is there presenting himself, especially in politics, actually, and that person is just there for themselves, alam mo people know it. They have a spider sense about people who are just there for themselves. And at the end of the day, that ego, even though it sort of makes you, it lifts up your spirits to a certain extent, it will be, at the end of the day, the hindrance to really be able to get you to where you want to go. So, in my experience, young people, when I worked with youth, and now most of the people in our organization are young people, I think we respond more to sincerity, we respond to earnestness, and we are able to really move beyond ourselves if the leaders of the group also see that they're there for something bigger than themselves. No? If it's just themselves, talagang magkakanya-kanya yan. Next thing you know, everyone's working just for their own benefit. But if the leader himself is able to raise it to a different level and be sincere in being purposeful and having that purpose as something that's really better for everyone and even the people that you affect, your organization will simply just be more effective. So at the end of the day, it's really for the effectiveness of the group. And at the end of the day, your ego is just the main hindrance to that. What would I like to impart? Basically, siguro, as we get success after success, it's important that you always keep your feet on the ground and be humble enough. I mean, I don't usually quote the Bible, pero di ba sabi doon, the first shall be last and the last shall be first. And that's absolutely true. The leader who is able to, at hindi yung false, yung false humility, but the leader is able to really serve and help the people that they're with, not have such a big ego to distance himself so much from the people that's working with him, then I think people will just, respond to that and work towards the goal much faster. So there. Okay? There you go! Ayos, ayos! Woohoo! Okay.